Welcome to Talking True, where I speak to mystics, near-death experiencers, healers, and people who are waking up to the truth of who they are. And today I'm really excited because I'm going to be diving into the beautiful theme of Christian mysticism and authentic awakening. And joining me today is Amanda Tweed, who's joined me before, and I'm thrilled to have her with me again. Amanda is an inspirational speaker. She works with people to empower them to live true to their purpose and their potential. And she's also an author, and she has a lot to share. And she's also a non-dual teacher, I have to say, and she has a channel on YouTube. So Amanda, thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited about today's episode.
Julie, thank you so much. Thank you. It's a real pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So to dive into this topic, I thought I was inspired actually to share a lucid dream that I had some years ago, I think at least 10 years ago or more. For those of you who may not know, I was raised as a Catholic in the UK. I'm now living in the Bahamas, as you can see. And I've been a lucid dreamer from a very, very early age. And I had a radical awakening in 1989, and following which I had really powerful and dynamic lucid dream experiences. And in one of those dreams, I woke up in the dream. A lucid dream is when you wake up in the dream and realize this is a dream and I'm dreaming. And I found myself in, it seemed to be like an old store, like a department building with a big corridor in the middle. And I was walking down the corridor and I looked at this glass and I saw the reflection of what looked like a mystic, a monk. He had long grey hair and he was wearing orange robes. And I recognized him immediately. And I went to find him. I went inside the store to find him. And there was nothing there at all. The store was really empty. And I was searching for him and searching for him. And I heard a voice tell me that the name of this monk was Father Bede Griffith. And so I clung onto that name in the dream. And then when I was pulled back into waking. And then when I did some research, I discovered that this really was a person. His name was Father Bede Griffith, and he was a Christian monk and a mystic. He was trained in the UK. And then I think it was in 1955 or something, he was inspired to go to India to study Vedanta and Christian teachings, and his aim was to merge the two. So I began to dive into that because I had a real resonance because of being raised a Christian and then being kind of drawn into the yogic path. I had sort of a real drive to find out more about Father Bede Griffith, and he has the most exquisite videos online and teaches beautiful teaching from the heart. And his mission was to merge the masculine and the feminine, and to speak from the Christian faith, and also be able to speak about the mystical traditions in terms of meditation and self-inquiry and contemplation. So I thought that would be a great place to start today, Amanda, because I know that you have had a powerful inner life for many, many years, even when you felt like you were kind of lost. So I thought that would be a good place to start with respect to how you found your way and what you were guided to.
Thank you. What a lovely dream, Julie. Lucid dreams. There's so many messages in lucid dreams. Wow. There's always, the story can start anywhere, really. And I know I was on your channel a few weeks ago, and I think I spoke about when I was young and then going into Christianity, but I don't really remember what I said. But what I do know is that from a young age, I remember my mum was the one that used to always rattle my cage. I remember she said, "You better be good because Judgment Day is coming." And I said, "What's Judgment Day?" She said, "The trumpet's going to sound and everybody is going to die." And I think I was about 4. And I said, "Mum, if I die, who's going to tell me I'm dead?" And I always had that question, how will I know I'm dead? And then she said, "Everybody's going to die." And I said, "But this world that comes to an end. So if everybody dies and I'm still here, I haven't died. So how can we all die? How can we?" And that was the question I think that I carried from a young age, this thing of birth and death and birth and death. And then, of course, experiences, they are real. They are real experiences. So it doesn't really help with teachings that say it's not real, it's a dream. It is a dream, but it's not until we realize that it's a dream. It's the realizing that does it. So for many years, I just led a normal teenage life, whatever that means, partying, going out with friends, um, studying, finding jobs. And then the path to destruction came along. And there was, even with that, there was a knowing that this is meant to happen and I don't know what this is. And I feel as though I'm to blame, but I know it's out of my control. I just had that dialogue. Mm-hmm. And so there was total surrender through the prison sentence, through the drug addiction, through homelessness. It was total surrender. I didn't fight anything. And during that, there was miracles that happened. I saw magic, and I thought, if I say anything, people are not going to believe me. But it was like my little secret. So, but one thing I did do as an addict was I was looking for somebody who had realized the truth. I said, "I just want the truth. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means, but I want the truth." And somebody brought Islam to me, and my heart was open, and I said, "Right, this is it." And then the lady who brought it to me said, "You've got to pray in Arabic." I said, "I don't know Arabic, so you need to teach me." So I sat there with a pen and paper, and I was in prison. I had pen and paper, and I got her to say the words in Arabic, and I wrote them down in English so that I could repeat them. And I repeated them. I don't know, I spent 2 days in my cell, repeating. I'd mastered the prayer. I'd mastered Arabic in 48 hours. I did the wash, the wuju, I'd done everything. And then I said, "I want to talk to you in English, God. I don't want to talk to you in Arabic. I need to tell you some things. I need to offload some hurt." But the lady, I mean, I'm certainly not saying that this is how Islam is, because I don't really know. I was shown by somebody, she'd done the best that she could, and she gave me what I asked for, the prayer. I wanted to speak to God. So I didn't give up. I said, there is a God and somebody knows the truth, and somebody knows. And it was in 2011, it was 2010 rather, I was on my last prison sentence, and I didn't know that, of course. I thought I'll be back again. And now I know there was an angel that just moved into the prison, because nobody saw her come in and nobody saw her left. Nobody saw anything. She just appeared. And this lady, I used to watch her and I think she walks with authority. And I didn't know what that meant, but it was just an utterance. And she befriended me, and we called her Mom, because she was such a loving, loving being. And something told me she's a Christian and Jesus is being preached through her cells. And that, again, was intuitive, didn't know what it meant, still didn't know this truth I was looking for, but this woman had my attention. And so when I was leaving, she'd placed her hands on me and prayed in tongues. And I mentioned it in our first interview, didn't I, Julie, that I'd had a dream of speaking in tongues. So as soon as she touched me, I said, "That's tongues." And instantly the addiction fell, but I didn't recognize it. It's when I got on the train, I was waiting for my palms to sweat, and I was looking and waiting for the anxiety and waiting for the pull of addiction, and I couldn't find it. And so I overrode that. I said, "Right, you don't get to control me for 13 years and just disappear, addiction. Now it's my turn to be in charge." So there was a bit of a bit of some psychological illness there. You know, you've been crying for freedom. You get freedom, and you want to go and put the thing back in bondage. But it all worked. It all worked. It all worked in favour, and that was how it was supposed to be, because it was through that. It was through going off and taking drugs that I was met with divine intervention on a physical level, where my body got turned around, and I wanted to say yes, and no came out of my mouth. And now there's fear. There is real fear, because what is this that has taken over? So I ended up in a supported accommodation, and then I was very, very extremely, I say fortunate, it was all planned out, and we know that, but it doesn't mean that I can't give appreciation and thanks and you know, so much gratitude to this lady who became my mentor, who was spiritually awake, so awake, playing the role of being a service provider, and she became my mentor. And the thing is, we never liked each other. I shouldn't say we never liked each other. She then told me that she said to God, not another person to mentor, please. I can't do this no more. I just want to rest. And she said, God is very possessive over you, Amanda. He said, this is your last one. This is the one. And she said, I don't know if that was, she don't know, but she, you know, she was influencing me into Jesus. And I said, I don't want to know about your Jesus, please. Thank you. No, I just want the truth. I don't want to know about Jesus. I didn't know anything about him. I knew that I'd heard the story that he'd walked on water. I hadn't heard that he'd cast out devils and demons. I hadn't heard that story. But what I had heard was that he'd walked on water and he healed the sick. And that's all I heard about Jesus. That is the only knowledge I had. So my mentor is telling me about Jesus, and there is some real resistance. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I'm not interested. And it was through that the realization, hold on a minute, this addiction has gone, the past life. In fact, Julie, I think it was 2 weeks later, I'm getting ready, doing my hair, and I saw my image in the mirror, and this body mind looked about 60, about 13 years ago. I couldn't walk straight. My skin was all wrinkled. I was really poorly, you know, really bags under my eyes, everything. And I was age 43 or 42, I can't remember, but I could pass for a 63-year-old easy. You know, 20 years had been added. So when I looked in the mirror and I saw fresh skin, eyes alive, I screamed. I thought, I'm going mad. And I picked up the phone. I phoned my mum. Mum, did I used to be an addict, or was it a dream? And she was like, oh, she's gone crazy. I was asking everybody, did I used to be an addict? Because it wasn't real and I couldn't find the person. Of course, I'm conscious of people that have done 12 steps and done rehab, but that wasn't my story. I don't know what happened. I went to bed, I fell asleep, and I woke up awake, aware, happy, Christ conscious, don't know what to call it. I don't know. But life carried on until the one day my mentor said to me, she kept telling me about Jesus. She kept telling me about Jesus. You must come to church. You must come to church. And one day I went to church, and it wasn't my will. I didn't want to go to church. I wanted to go off and do my nonsense. And then this sleep came upon me. I couldn't, like a heavy cloud. And then it lifted just in time for church. And I thought, oh, I'll just go. Oh, what harm can it do? I'll just go. And I went to church, and it was my mentor's husband who was the pastor. And I was yawning and agitated and rolling my eyes. And oh my God, this old English language, I don't want to be here. And then he got my attention. He started talking about the 10 Commandments. And then he related it to a to-do list. So he said, we've got these 10 commandments, and if you break one, you've broken all of them. Oh my God, that was it. As if I couldn't feel any worse. I thought, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I've broken all of these commandments. And then he said, you can talk to God. And that got my attention. And he gave us 4 keys, how to hear from God and how to talk to God. So I thought, right, I don't need to write these keys down, because he told us to write them down. I just wanted to get out of church and run back to my room and start talking to God and asking him, who are you? What's happened to drugs? is going on, who, what, where. And when I got home, I just poured out my heart. Honestly, I was gifted honesty, because if when I speak to people, you can pray in tongues, you can move mountains, you can have all the faith in the world, you can do what you want. Honesty is the first key of the kingdom, because when you unlock that honesty, it's the removal of any pride. There's nothing, you're just empty, open, vulnerable. And that was the gift that I was given. And I remember pouring out my heart, everything that I'd done through addiction, what had happened to me through addiction, all the unforgiveness, all the resentments, everything just tumbling out. And it was the best night's sleep that I'd had. And when I woke up the following morning, the freedom that I'd felt had become more real. It had become more, this really, really is freedom. And rather than investigating it, I just dwelled in it. I danced in it. So I said, "You are real. I found God." I'm telling everybody, guess what? I found God. I found God.
Yes. Yes.
I found God. And they thought, "Oh, another addiction. She's just gone from but I didn't care." And my mentor said, "You do know that no one's going to believe you." I said, "I don't care. I found God. Believe what you want, do what you want." So I was just caught up just in it was the presence of God. My God, I would sit with the presence. I couldn't move sometimes. It was just rested, and I would just, bask and bask. And then, of course, worship and tongues, so all the Christian practices. But I said, this is not a hobby. This is not an addiction. This is real. And of course, I was just calling him God and Father. And so my mentor would come with a message of Jesus, and I wasn't so hostile. There was like a softening. And then we were sat one day, and she just blurted it out. She said, "Jesus said to tell you that you was married to the devil." And I saw the horror in her face, like, how could I deliver such a message? And I looked and I said, "It's okay," because I knew what she meant.
Mm-hmm.
And that day, on the evening, my skin was just itching from the crown of my head to the soles of my feet. And I ran to my room, and I'm stripping off to have a shower to stop the itching. And as I've stripped off and put a dressing gown on, the itching stopped. And I sat and I said, "Father, how do I divorce the devil?" And I heard it. I heard it truly. It was internal, it was external. You know what you have to do. And then I saw all my worldly possessions, and I just threw everything out, just got rid of everything. And then that is when the faith walk began. That is when anything that I felt I needed, like I'd thrown my glasses away. And I remember people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that." I said, "Yeah, because when I was in the dark days and I used to practice crime, I didn't need my glasses. I was using intuition. So I'm only lying to myself." No, they were bought with stolen money, or money that I'd got from ill-gotten gain. They need to go. And then my glasses turned up 8 weeks later on a branch, just random on a branch. And I was like, "What's going?" Because I'd asked for my eyesight back. I said, "Jesus, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not just the Bible. I just can't see anymore. I've got headaches. So please give me my eyesight back." And I just felt that, yes. And I ran. I said, "I've got my eyesight back." I couldn't see, but I said, "I've got my eyesight back." And then later that day, somebody said, "Your glasses showed up." And I said, "Yes, thank you." So I knew. So the faith was incredible. You know, if I could swim, I would have found water and walked on it. If God would have said walk on it, I would have done it. If the faith, I had no problem at all with the faith. But I think what really helps me, and I know it helps a lot of people, is honesty. And that's what I promote: honesty. Just be honest. My mentor used to always say, "To thyself be true, to thyself be true."
Yes.
And I know it takes courage to be honest, because it's to ourselves, but it's that is what really led to the self-realization. Because going to church, it looked like everybody knew Jesus better than me, because they all seemed caught up more than me. And I'm like, what am I missing? And then, of course, we can turn it on ourselves and see our own self-judgments, our own flaws, that, "Oh, I curse that person in my mind," because you can't control that psychological mind. And I think it's designed to do that. So even though there was awakening, there was no longer a sleep state. There was still work kind of work to do. And it was using prayer, using tongues, using the Bible, talking to Jesus. And then the day came where I said, Jesus, I can't do this anymore. I feel as though I'm separate. I need to know who you are. And if I have to die, then so be it. But I cannot live like this no more. And that's when I was introduced to Muji. And I remember the cry. I said, Jesus, you're gonna leave me for a while, aren't you? It was such like a little daughter and father talk. It was beautiful. I said, you're going, aren't you? And I heard him say, I'll never leave you, nor will I forsake you. I said, but this self-investigation removes me and it removes you. But I just know. And so it was that can of worms. It was do or die. And of course, I mean, I know I discussed with you last time, Julie, that I would use the who is suffering what, the self-investigation in the supermarket. I didn't care where I was, because now I'm here for freedom. And whatever that looks like, I'm just here. If I'm radical, I'm radical, but I'm here for freedom. And I would say that over the last 7 years of understanding the pointings of who is suffering, what is suffering, am I a body, that integration becomes embodied, and you don't really know that it's becoming embodied until you realize you don't do this anymore. Or and so it was it was meeting with David Bingham that done it for me. There was something that he'd said that just, I watched a veil fall. I actually saw like a glass fall. I was like, what was that? What was that? And I said, oh, it's the imagination. Oh my God, it's the imagination. So waking up is part of the dream. It is still God's dream that we fall asleep and wake up.
Yes.
Then,
Yes.
yeah. And then the real work the rubber starts to hit the road, and you say, that's it. You're in the lion's mouth anyway. And if you're in the lion's mouth, you're in the lion's mouth. But I think what I point people to is understanding. Get understanding. If YouTube videos resonate, let the resonance do what it's supposed to do. Just let it, if there's a teacher that resonates, just let that, because it's to wake up the joy, the happiness. But the integration and the embodiment, everybody experiences that differently. But what I because I know the call of the heart, I know that suffering, I know it at a level, even though it doesn't feel as though it was real, there's a footprint that remembers that, and the frustration, and there's the spiritual path can bring up so many things that we was not aware of. And I say, don't lose heart and use honesty. Use that honesty, use it, because we are intuitive, we are wise, we are all these things, but it's only through I suppose not understanding, misunderstanding, which is what we can fall into, even though it isn't real. But I think I said it to you at the beginning, Julie. Everything is true, and everything is a lie. The dream experience is true. It is true, or it is real, I should say. It's a real experience, but it's not who you are. You are the avatar. You're the avatar. You're the one pulling the strings.
Yes, yes,
Yes, we are the avatar. I mean,
yes.
I watched that movie many years ago, and it done something to the mind. The mind was trying to grapple with it, and I knew there was something in it. And then years later to realize that I was never asleep. I was playing the role of being asleep so I could wake up through the avatar, Amanda, Julie, John, Claire, whoever. And that is the game. That's the game.
That's the game. Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love what you just shared, because so much of that relates, obviously I haven't been in prison. I didn't spend time in prison, but in many ways, we feel like we're in prison when we don't know who we are, and when we suffer, and when we struggle. And certainly when I was a kid, when I went to Catholic school and so on and so forth, and I would have to go to church and so on, and I'd sit there listening to the priests and the nuns, and intuitively I knew that they didn't necessarily believe, or they hadn't had direct experience of what they were speaking about. I could feel it because, ever since I was a kid, I was having angelic visitations, out of body experiences, and
Yes.
messages, and I would see things and hear things and all of that. So after also experiencing and seeing some behavior that wasn't good or healthy or whatever, I decided, I think I was 14 when I decided I was leaving the church, and that was it. I was done. I wasn't going to go back, and it was many years later when I had this awakening. I think I was 30. Yeah, I was 33. I had this radical awakening, and then I started to have dream visitations, lucid dreams with Lord Jesus, and then I would feel his presence. And some of the dream initiations and meetings were so incredibly profound. In one, he had blood on his palms, and he took the blood and he anointed me on my forehead and on my heart. And in another dream, he embraced me, and then we merged. In yet another dream, he appeared on the cross, this massive form of him on the cross, and I was drawn up into his body through his feet. So I had the most incredibly profound experiences with Jesus, which, we use the word experiences, and by the very nature of that word and the meaning of that word, it indicates or implies a beginning, a middle, and an end. But the truth is, these kinds of anointings don't have a beginning, a middle, and an end, because they still carry and convey the same awakening power or anointing power or message. When I'm speaking about them now, they're still very much alive, and they have that. There's a transmission that happens. And what happened after those dream meetings, those anointings, is my entire being or consciousness, whatever you want to call it, expanded exponentially. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. And changed me forever. It was like some other layer of conditioning just fell away. And it wasn't until, and you spoke to this as well, and it wasn't maybe until some time later I began to see, I stopped hanging out with these people, or I stopped doing this, or I stopped doing that. It wasn't conscious at all, but these layers were just falling and falling and falling and falling. And that continued. And I also was having lucid dream meetings with Mother Mary. She was embracing me, and I was merging with her, and she was anointing me and giving me advice and so on. And a part of me, and I would wake up from these amazing anointings and blessings. I'd think, wow, I turned my back on on Catholicism and Christianity, essentially turned away from Jesus. And yet he had never turned away from me. And the proof was in these amazing encounters that I was having with him, and also with these Christian mystics. I had many dream meetings with other Christian mystics in addition to Father B. Griffith. And what I recognized was it was all about my inner relationship. And I'd always known that. It was always about my inner relationship. I trusted my inner relationship, my inner knowing.
Yes.
And I trusted what I was shown. I trusted what I was, what was being revealed. And I learned to trust the voice of that and the message of that.
Yes.
And it was that really that led me on this very sort of deep interior kind of voyage of discovery, so to speak.
Yes.
And then standing behind being willing to do the work of self-inquiry, which you referenced as well, because that's really important. If you really don't look at your conditioning and your beliefs and patterns and so on and so forth, those can kind of imprison you and keep you bound from trusting the wisdom of the self, from the call of your own higher self.
Yes.
And so that has to be done in tandem with learning to lean into and trust this mystical path, because it really is about trusting the mystery, trusting that which cannot be named, trusting the pathless path, trusting the voice of your own higher self, which may come in the voice of Jesus, it may come in the voice of Mother Mary, it may come in the voice of a great saint or, being, and looking for signs and being willing to be humble enough to kind of get on your knees and say, I don't know anything. Please reveal what needs to be seen. And I would always pray and still pray, please, Lord, speak to me inside my heart so I can hear you inside my heart.
Yes.
And, make it loud if I'm a bit deaf, on some days, just make it as loud and as evident as it can be, so that it's not missed.
Yes.
Because it's easy to get distracted, with what's happening on the outside, or to give your agency away to others who you think know better.
Absolutely. Sovereignty is the key. We are sovereign beings. We have the so who we are, the self, that is the power, and it cannot be created or destroyed. It is the I am that I am. It's impersonal. And then the body mind, the avatar, carries the authority. It carries that authority, and that is the relationship. So this Amanda, who is not separate from anything and anyone, is just the avatar, has been called to worship the Lord Jesus, but it's not separate. It's so pure. It's just Amanda playing the role of a Christian who loves Jesus. That's it. That's it. But it's understanding the sovereignty. It's understanding, like you said, Julie, that we have that power to identify with fear and intelligence. We have that power because it's an eternal dream, and it doesn't really matter because it is only a dream.
Yes, it's amazing. And it's also really about looking at all the things that stand in the way of that recognition. And again, as you said, it comes down to honesty, being honest with yourself. At that, where you are the one who is restricting that recognition or blocking that seeing or denying it or not wanting to step into it, because of course you have to be willing to take responsibility for that too, right? Rather than giving your authority to someone else. So there is a lot of work to be done, but the outcomes, the blessings of doing that work, it's just beyond words.
And I mean, you are right. There is work to be done, but the work becomes playful and effortless. So there are some beings, and it's not nothing. It's not a specialness. It's just that I suppose it's like any organization. You have the CEO, you have the manager, you have the support worker. It's like a car. You've got all these things. But I'll tell you something now: if that spark is missing that connects the battery, the car's not going nowhere. So every part of that car is important. Some of us have had to directly tread the path, and it was not. If I would have known, I would have said, Jesus, pick somebody else, please, because I didn't know that it was going to lead to this. Going into prison, going through so many dark nights of the soul and having to walk it rather than just be a parrot, and then it becomes hypocritical. And you can hear that, people can hear it. So you are only fooling yourself. So I had to authentically walk this, and it wasn't easy. And I said, at times I felt like giving up. I said, you know what, find somebody else. And then it would be rolling over and coming back stronger. And then it was, is that the mind or is that the ego? And then to find out that it was all a dream, it was like, you are joking. You are kidding. You are kidding that none of that was real, but it was a real experience.
Yes, and that can't be denied, right?
No, it can't be. It's to honor it, because everything, it's a real experience. Going to sleep, going to bed, what's its reality? A real experience. That's the only thing that we're ever going to find in it. but it's the experience of experiencing sleep, and it's real. So it
Yes.
is validated. It's not to be pushed aside and, oh, it's not real. Yes, everything is real. It's a real experience. But the outcome of this avatar, body, mind, vessel is what was coming through was to train the teacher. And I said, oh my God, what is this? Oh my God. But I did stamp my feet and I was honest. I said, Jesus, something easier, please. Something easier than this. But then I said, okay, there's a little mantra that I do. So I'll be honest. I will say, I don't like this. Jesus, I don't like it. Whether I'm being personal or not, I don't know, but that's the honesty. It's the honesty from the heart level. It's the honesty from the child, or whatever you want to call this. And then if I feel that that's the identification at that moment, that's the reality, then I just say, am I aware of this? Yes, I am. And then I say, thank you, not to anyone. And I just keep asking, is there an awareness of this? Yes, thank you. Am I aware? Yes, thank you. It's the yes and thank you that catapults you back to your awakened real self. Yes and thank you, because it's a vibration now, because it's a vibrational game. And yes and thank you. You come back to your senses and you say, okay, what's next? Or you take whatever action. And then it's like, well, from here, it's been the program was just downloaded. And I said, oh, God, it's really easy because it is effortless. But that yes and thank you practice just come from honesty, just being absolutely honest. I don't like this, or I like this, or I feel separate. This I feels like there's two eyes. It's just telling it as it is, and
Yes.
then asking, is there an awareness of it? And if we keep asking, is there an awareness of it? Guess what? We become fully aware, because we're affirming, yes, there's awareness. Yes,
Yes.
there's awareness.
Yes, because the thing is that you, at a certain point, you realize you are awareness itself. You are
Yes.
that is aware of awareness. So that practice, as
Yeah.
simple as that is, it's really
Yeah.
powerful. Actually,
Yes.
it's a game changer.
It is, and it does, because this game is only an energy game. Because that question was still with me. If I die, who's going to tell me I'm dead? How will I know? How will I? I have to, there's got to be somebody that knows. And so every night I'm going to bed and I'm waking up and I'm going into real deep sleep, like dead to the world. And then there's a waking up, and there's still a I am that's doing it. There's still a personal I am, and I'm just there's an awareness of it. It does feel familiar, I'm being honest. It feels familiar, but I don't know what it is, because awareness is everything. Awareness is the dreamer, the one. It's everything. And I then contemplated and said, I was talking to somebody actually. There was a lady that I meet with, and I was telling her, and I said, yeah, because there is a purpose to this dream. There's got to be. You're not just born to self-realize and the game's over. There's a purpose. And I said, because every night there's deep sleep. So all this spirituality, all this knowledge, what does it mean in deep sleep? Nothing. Doesn't mean a thing. So what's the purpose? And she said, if you're aware of deep sleep, you must be that pure awareness. You've got to be. And I said, oh yeah, because who else knows about deep sleep if it's not the awareness?
Yes.
It's not the body.
No.
It's not the person. So,
Yes.
so
Yes.
it's that, yeah, there's no reporter apart from awareness, and it's just bliss, pure, attributeless. So then the avatar that wakes up, the aliveness, the existence, the seed of the absolutes is the absolutes, and it's dancing happy, 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 just happy, just
Yes.
happy. Yeah.
I love what you just said, because master yogis say there are four states of being. There's the waking state, the state of sleep, the state of deep sleep, and then the fourth state is turiya, which is the fourth, and that never sleeps. That is what is, absolute awareness, aware of itself. And so that never comes and goes. That watches all the other states, moving and changing and so on and so forth. And it's that we are, but we forget, we fall asleep, and then awareness awakes up to itself, I guess is one way of putting it. But they've spoken about that since the beginning of time, Turiya, that which is the fourth. And when I heard that and read, and I have had obviously direct experience of that, it began to make sense.
Yes.
Because I used to say, who is it that's aware that I had a good night's, and I wake up in the morning and, I say, oh yeah, I had a fantastic night's sleep, or I was dead to the world. I don't remember. There's something obviously that sees that, knows that, and can report on that, right? And that is our authentic state of being. And we use the word state, but it's our authentic nature, or however you want to put it.
Pure
and it's really, pure awareness. It's really so simple, but I think because it's so simple, it's overlooked. It's constantly overlooked because we believe it's a story.
Yes, the thing is the severity of the game, because there is a severity. It doesn't mean it's serious, but there is a severity, is that because we're sovereign being, we are the ones who agreed to come as a human and play the game. And we agreed to falling asleep and waking up. And the only way that we could do it was to pretend that we are not the self. So it's the game of pretending, which has become so solid, and it's not easy to accept. And the reason it's not easy to accept is because we put consents and contracts in that when that day comes, we say, right, enough is enough. I'm withdrawing that contract. I'm going totally free. It's that, that's what it is. And that does take courage and understanding. And, all of us, we're all going to do it. At some point, we're going to say enough is enough. That's it. Game over. It's coming to that.
Yeah, because, all I remember as a kid, just being very sort of discontent with kind of story or the game or what I was being shown, and, my label in terms of my name and identity and things. And I always know I was like you. I was always looking for truth. I wouldn't have maybe put it in those words, but I was looking for someone or something that could prove that what I knew was true was true.
Yes.
And it can be painful because you can feel like you're the, am I the only one who feels this way? That the things of the world just don't have any kind of appeal.
Yes.
To me. And it can be kind of lonely.
I had a few glitches, Julie, in the game. I had a few glitches. I don't know. Okay, I know it's not personal, but something would happen and everybody would stop as if to say, we're acting, don't let her know. I felt like the Truman Show. So many times it felt like the Truman Show. So there was a time when I had Apple. Apple had decided to stop just giving us the earpods, the extension. We had to get a little extension to go with it. So no more could you just plug that into the phone. And these were about £20. And I'd had a new iPhone and I had this extension thing. And I hadn't used the earphones that often. And I needed another set because I had two phones, and one was for music for my dance classes and one was personal. So my mentor at the time said to me, oh, go to the high street and go to the phone shop and get yourself a thingy. So I went and bought it, and I remember it was £20, I think. And I'd kept the packaging and I'd popped the receipt in the packaging. I thought, well, I'll hold that for 3 months in case anything happens. I've got the receipt, because it's not then, you're having to buy these extra bits for the iPhone.
Yeah.
So the thing broke after 28 days. It just broke, and it wasn't mishandled. I didn't treat it. I thought, what is wrong with this? I need to take it back to the shop. Thank God I've got the original packaging and I've got the receipt. And at that time, my mentor had me practicing somebody called Robert Scheinfield, who says, I am the power and the presence of God creating everything. So if there's anything that's uncomfortable, you speak to that mountain. You say, I reclaim my power from this thing now. And she said, and you watch it fall. So she had us do it. So that was my new toy. So I've gone to the shop and I've walked in, and there was two sales assistants, and there was somebody who was another customer just looking around. And I've gone in and I've explained, I bought this 3-4 weeks ago. Here's the receipt, here's the packaging. I don't want a refund, but I would like it replaced because I do use it. And the gentleman went onto his laptop or his computer and he said, oh, I can't do any for you. I said, what do you mean? He said, you can't have a refund and we can't exchange it. And he turned the screen around and showed me. He said, look, it says under no circumstances. And I felt the fear rush up and I felt the uncomfortable feelings. And there and then I said, I am the power.
Oh, that's funny.
I had to. I said, I am the power of the presence of God, and I am creating this. I created you. You're not real, and I reclaim my power. And as I've opened up my eyes, the man was just looking, he's waiting for me.
Who is this lunatic, right?
He's just waiting for me to have my moments. And his sales assistants, they wouldn't dare look at me. They were looking ahead. And then the man in the shop, he was just stood holding this thing. He didn't move. And I thought everybody stopped. I thought, what have I done? So I then breathed and I said, right, can you help me? And he said, sorry, madam. He said, oh, I thought that this said you couldn't have your money back. He said, that's strange. He said, anyway, I don't know what's happened. Maybe it's a glitch. What did you want? As if the first part never happened. And I came out and I said, what is going on with life? What was that? And he gave me the refund. And I've seen many little things. I'm like, something's not right. Some things are not as they seem to be, because I wasn't afraid to use that tool in the middle of the challenge. I don't care if it was in the high streets. I think addiction and homelessness took that you'll look silly away, because that was, and I thought, well, if I've overcome that and nobody really cares, then I can just, just speak to them. I speak to my car. When my car kept flashing, I stopped and I said, in the name of Jesus, correct yourself. Yeah. The mechanic looked at me and he said, well, it works because she's corrected. And I would get in the car and, I got used to speaking to things and watching them change or not change, and speaking to animals. I had a pigeon that flew into my window about 3 months ago. And I said, what have you done? Go and fly. And it couldn't. And I said, oh no. And I pictured the cats getting it and there's so I spoke over the pigeon. I had to visualize it flying. I said, right, you can fly, so stop playing small, you can fly. And then it got dark and I didn't see him, and then I woke up the next morning and I thought he must have flew off, and then I seen him hopping under this bush. I said, Pidgey, I called him Pidgey. I said, you actually survived. That tells me. And I started telling him how amazing he was. I'm talking to a pigeon. And then a cat came in my garden and I said to the cat, no, not in here. Keep walking. You're not doing it. And Pidgey was hopping over. I said, come on, mate, come and stand by me. I'll look after you. I'm saying to the cat, no, go, keep moving. You're not having him. And then I watched this pigeon get stronger and stronger. And everybody said it's a miracle. He should have been dead by now. The cats would have got him. But I spoke to them. You are not touching this pigeon. It is not happening. And because I'd seen him fly, I held that and I said, that's the truth. And then he got to the top of the tree and he flew into my window again. And I said, why have you done that? This time you fly that way. And after a few hours, I watched him. I said, go on, Pidgey. And he flew, and the joy. And it was something. And he was here this morning. He comes, he pecks around and off he goes. It's amazing. He's just speaking to you. You can do what you want. You wrote the story. You wrote it. It's your avatar. You can do what you want. You can be what you want. Wake up, realize who you are, and walk in that. Walk in it. Yes.
Yeah, you can speak to anything actually, and pray for guidance but sort of declare, what it is that you're wanting to manifest or create.
Yes.
And bring light and blessings into the world.
Yes.
And you know, all of that becomes, you know, a lot of these stories you couldn't tell everybody because they would think you're batty, right? But it just becomes so evident that you have the authority to be able to speak to whatever's happening and change it. I mean, I have a quite a dramatic story because, and I've told this story before, but in 2008, the bank that my husband and I had most of our savings invested in collapsed.
Oh wow.
We found out about it when we turned the news on, because there was a news segment on BBC World or whatever, you know. And of course, tremendous fear came up around lack, because, you know, that was something I'd struggled with as a kid, you know, because I was born in the UK in a fairly poor family and so on and so forth. So I felt this kind of energy that was moving up. This was obviously after that, I'd had this awakening. So I understood the importance of doing the energy work, and this massive kind of dark energy started to move up. And in the past, I would have let it consume me to the point that I would have tried to constrain things and watch the finances and go into fear mode and all of that. At the time I said, no, I'm not doing it. And I went straight into meditation, and I started to visualize and do the energy work. And then I helped move that energy up through my being, and I began to see it as this kind of vast opening. And out of this vast dark opening, I visualized this tree rising up with golden fruit. And I, you know, every time fear would come up in the weeks that followed, I would visualize this tree with this golden fruit and speak about abundance and think about abundance and proclaim abundance and all of those things. And to cut a long story short, the bank said that they would start paying back somehow. It was an Icelandic bank anyway. It's a long story, but in the end, we were told that we'd get like 75% of our savings back, and then it was 80, and then it was 85, and we managed to get 95 or 97% of our savings back over a few years period. And I know that, and I was working with a friend who does energy work and so on and so forth, and she said, told me in the beginning, you know, that's the best, what you're doing is the best thing, because you can change the outcome. What you've been told now doesn't necessarily mean that is going to be the outcome, that you're going to lose everything.
Absolutely, because
change the story.
That is classed as the end result, isn't it? The end result is the bank has done this or this has happened. And it's to understand it's the end result. You can't do nothing from there. You're going to go on a hamster. You put the seed in the ground. You forgot you planted daffodil. You're looking for rose. No, you planted daffodil. So what do? You go back and you pull it up and you uproot it, shift it around, put a new seed in, and you get a new result. And that is going back to the energy body. It's the emotional body going to the thinkingness, having a look at how we create. How did I create this thing? How did I do it? And it's to undo that thinkingness. It's the undoing of the thinkingness. You did it with the energy. You can do it with either the emotion field or the frequency, and both are the same, because it is an energetic experience, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's very powerful. Very powerful.
It's so powerful, and that really destroyed and dismantled all these old conditioning, you know, and patterns and things that I bought into as a child, you know. So my father used to say, you know, it's hard to make a decent living. That was his kind of mantra. He didn't have money, and so I really had to work hard to unhook all of that. But I clearly saw it, you know, in this moment. I said, I'm not going back into that again. I'm going to change this narrative. And that's what happened, and the outcome was incredible. So
that's a clear example of you using the authority that we have. You said, that's it, enough is enough, not happening no more, pack your bags and go. That's how big I say, pack your bags.
Yes, amazing. Well, I'm just seeing the time. I can't believe we've been talking as long as we have. I really love talking to you, and I think it's fantastic. And there's a lot that we've shared today that'd be very helpful, I think, for viewers.
Yes.
But before we go, do you want to just remind people where they can find you, Amanda?
Absolutely. So I do have a YouTube channel. It's a bit upside down at the moment, so I'm in the process of sorting all the videos out, but please feel free to go along there. In terms of work that I do with people, it's more of master training, and that doesn't mean anything special. It just means it's uncompromising because, in truth, you are the self. You cannot not be the self. You cannot not exist. And it's understanding and it's the recognition of that. And then it's to look at this avatar, or we can call it the five koshas. We can call it what we want, the human experience. There's a game plan, and you've come to fulfill that. And it's the waking up, the realization of who you are, that then becomes so obvious what you've been called to do. And so it's having someone like me with a drill that will just smash all these anti-freedom programs, rip those contracts up and say, go and live your life, because I've come here to see freedom, 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 freedom. That's what I've come here to do, to just see everybody free. And that's how it's, yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. I'm with you. We're on the same page.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for joining me today. As always, this has been really great. I've really enjoyed it.
You. Thank you for having me again, Julie. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, so thank you. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this content, then let other people know. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then please subscribe. That would be great, because it tells YouTube that you enjoy the content, and then they push it out to more people who can benefit. So thank you once again, and take it easy, be well. And that's all from us for now. Bye.